President Troutman, distinguished members of the Banning Board of Education, Superintendent Davis, and the community. It is my distinct honor and pleasure, as always, to introduce some amazing Banning students. We're going to share some exciting things going on at their respective sites. First and foremost, representing Himmerling, we have fifth grader Ava Rowell. Come on up, Ava.
Good evening, Board President Troutman, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, and members of the Banning community. My name is Ava Rowell, and I am a proud fifth grade student at Hemmerling Elementary and also a member of our student council. I am here to report on our Mustang pride and all things Hemmerling. So far, our Mustangs have enjoyed a marvelous year. Mustangs kicked off the year with a red carpet welcome and a visit from the California Mobile Dairy Cow. We've hosted various assemblies on PBIS, anti-bullying, red ribbon, science, and Red Cross pillowcase preparedness. Our attendance campaign, Attendance Matters All Day, Every Day, is a full swing, leading to successful Saturday school days. Parents are actively participating in important workshops and avid parent nights. Kinder Mustangs enjoyed a field trip to Green Spot Farms, and we celebrated a successful fall festival, spectacular Halloween parade, and turkey trot. Trimester 1 parent-teacher conferences and student-led conferences for the fifth graders were held. Mustangs received recognition at the first trimester awards assemblies, and all students of the month enjoyed lunch with the principal. Our student council business, comic book, and gate clubs are thriving, with the STEAM Club launching soon. But we're only getting started. Our dashboard shows contestant growth, and we achieved our first blue rating for English language reclassification. Great job, Mustangs. We hosted our initial iReady celebration, honoring students with 50 or more growth. The top 4 achievers received a special iReady plushie, and all students got recognition with a certificate and a golden ticket. Our 4th and 5th grade Mustangs worked hard on their History Day, Science and History Day projects, and it paid off. Our Mustangs placed 1st and 3rd for District Science Fair for the District History Day. They placed 1st and 2nd for the individual and 1st place for group. They are all headed to the county science and history fairs. Good luck, Mustangs. Excitedly, more field trips for grades 1 through 5th are on the horizon. Currently, we're immersed in the Great Kindness Challenge with various planned activities. Mustangs even crafted their kindness stickers distributed at our local Starbucks. Additionally, we're conducting a clothing drive to support our community in Banning. Way to go, Mustangs. This concludes my Hemmerling report. We're marvelous Mustangs to the core. Thank you. Any questions?
Good job, good job. And I just want to say one thing about this Super Mustang. She's representing us because she has perfect attendance, that hasn't missed one day, and she's also super citizen, everything marvelous Mustang to the core. So thank you, Ava.
Well done, Ava. We're very proud of you. Next up, representing Nicollet Middle School as ASB president is Rose Yang.
Good evening, Board President Anguiano, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, and members of the Banning community. Good evening, Board President Troopman, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, and members of the Banning community. My name is Rose Yang, and I am Nicollet Middle School's 8th grade president, and I'm here to share with you all the exciting things going on at Nicollet Middle School. I'm excited to share some updates from our school community. In December, ASB clinched first place in the Christmas parade. Currently, they're organizing a Bobo fundraiser and diligently preparing for the Valentine's dance on February 16th. Congratulations to our 2024 Nicollet Middle School Science Fair winner. A big shout out to our winners, awards certificates to all participants, and winners will be given out soon. First place, De-icing Salt's Effect on the Environment by Elizabeth Scott Merkman. Second place, Safe to Eat in 5 Seconds by Rose Yang and Naomi Gonzalez. Third place, What Substance Makes Ice Melt the Fastest by Nelia Miranda. Honorable mentions, How Far Can You Throw a Ball by Emma Onsorn. What Type of Animal Protein Are Flies Attracted to the Most by Daniel Hernandez. What Caused the Most Damage to Your Teeth by Aiden Ikens, Elijah Clark, Joseph Malone, Kira McLaugh, Malaya Miller, and Lily Vasquez. Our volleyball and flag football teams are underway with games scheduled this week. Interests for softball and soccer are also in progress. ASB, along with the 6th grade class, will be hosting a movie night in February. Stay tuned for more details on this event in the coming weeks. Pack Track 3 is underway, and our taco event will take place during lunchtime on February 6th. Excited to see all the students who qualified. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to all the exciting events ahead.
Thank you so much, Rose. Representing Coombs Alternative, going to call 2 students up. I'm going to call Daniel Martinez up. Come on up, Daniel. And I'm also going to call Nevaeh Rodriguez. And Daniel's going to talk a little bit about Nevaeh. Come on up, both of you.
Good evening, Board President Troutman, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, and members of the Banning community. Since I have recently transferred back to Banning High School, I would like to introduce our new student speaker for Coombs Alternative Ed, Nevaeh Rodriguez.
Good evening. My name is Nevaeh Rodriguez, and I am a senior from New Horizons High School, and I am a proud member of the class of 24. Let's first shine a spotlight on New Horizons student Emily Ramirez Porras, the Banning Beaumont January Student of the Month, and the first graduate of New Horizons. Congratulations, Emily. Coombs High School students have begun their exact pathway diagnostics in math and language arts. Student safety and campus culture are the focus of the 2023 and 24 Coombs Student Survey, which will be administered this month. We are eager to continue our second semester workshops and leadership retreats with Juan Arombu and the ANU project. This means building confidence, exploring collaborations, and most importantly, strengthening our Coombs family. In addition, many students continue to participate in music programs with Jason Nutter experimenting with guitars, keyboards, drums, and other percussion instruments. Coombs students are looking forward to their upcoming field trip to Garner Holt Education Through Imagination. There, they will participate in a variety of hands-on STEAM learning activities. Each activity emulates unique aspects of the animatronic products production, processes, and fosters 21st century skills. Members of the class of 2024 anxiously await their senior cap and gowns picture day with cherished memories on January 31st. Congratulations, seniors. Coombs students are preparing to take the ASVAB on February 28th. The test reveals areas of strength and ability in science, math, and language. In addition, students are complete a career interest survey that matches their ASVAB strengths with possible job careers and pathways. Thank you for allowing us to share our Coombs Alternative Report with you.
Thank you and welcome, Nevaeh, and congratulations to Daniel. I did not see Chloe earlier. Oh, representing Banning High School, as my eyesight must not be very well because I turned around to look, is Chloe Dabukan. Come on up, Chloe.
Good evening, President Troutman, distinguished members of the school board, Superintendent Davis, members of the cabinet, and members of the community. My name is Chloe DeBucon, and I'm the Associated Student Body President at Banning High School, the home of the Broncos. We have also almost made it through the school year. Everyone's working hard to complete their credit recovery or their next upcoming assignment. We are very excited to announce ASB is having an upcoming prep rally in February, the theme being out of this world. We have things from seniors trying to steal the moon to juniors being aliens from Toy Story. While everyone is working hard to finish the school year out strong, we have taken the time to recognize our hardworking students. We have come up with Bug Awards. These awards are for people that brought up their grades from the grades they previously had. This is an exciting way to keep students interested and feeling like they're appreciated for their hard work and academic achievements. These awards celebrate the dedication and hard work of students who have successfully raised their grades, highlighting their commitment to learning and their growth. The Book Awards serve as a positive reinforcement to motivate students to continue striving for academic excellence. This semester, and for years to come, we're launching Club 4.0. This is an exclusive club reserved for students boasting a remarkable GPA of 4.0 and above. Membership not only reflects academic success, but also serves as a valuable addition to college applications, showcasing a commitment to excellence and setting members apart as high-achieving scholars. Join us in celebrating academic achievement and paving the way for a more successful future with Club 4.0. This coming month, on February 29th, we're thrilled to host our Honor Roll event. We extend a warm invitation to our board members to join us on this special occasion and witness firsthand the outstanding achievements of our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chloe, and that concludes our student presentations for the evening.
Thank you all. The board will now, no, excuse me. Item 1.6, opportunity for community comments. Student, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Aye. Yes, thank you to my fellow board members. Item 1.5, student board member comments. I apologize. At this time, we will hear from our student board member, Ahmad Saber.
Good evening, Board President Troutman, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, and members of the Banning community. First, I'd like to wish everyone a belated Happy New Year. This past year, I'm sure for all of us, were filled with numerous insightful experiences, events, and most importantly, opportunities. As we enter this new school year, I'm optimistic that we can continue to grow and improve on those opportunities together. Recently, I had the privilege of meeting with the superintendent to discuss a variety of topics, including the creation of advisory councils, the implementation of district-wide surveys, and more. These initiatives are geared towards enhancing collaboration and communication with our student body and district. I'm confident that we can effectively streamline these processes, and I'm eager to share our progress with you all, setting the stage for a strong and positive beginning to the 2024 school year. As we embark on a new semester, Banning High students, including myself, are readapting to the experience of coming back to school. Luckily, BHS's ASB is organizing the Out of This World Prep Rally this February. Based on what I've seen, this prep rally is set to be the most outstanding one to date, offering a perfect opportunity for students to regain focus while also enjoying themselves. We would be delighted to see the school board members at this event. Thank you for your time. . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . . . 。 . .
。 . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 .
. . .
。 .
. .
。 .
.
Item 1.6, opportunity for community comments, closed session items. Did we receive any community comments?
No comments.
Item 2, closed session. The board will now go into closed session. The time is 5:48.
In item 2.3, in closed session, the board received information and was updated.
Thank you, Clerk Ruiz. Item 3.2, educational services, student matters, expulsion of student.
This item is for the board to approve the expulsion of student case number 2023-24-04.
Is there a motion and second to open item 3.2?
I move.
I second.
I have a motion from trustee, oops. Thank you. I apologize. I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Anguiano to approve, to discuss item 3.2. We're voting. Okay. Let's see, we're approving item 3.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. Item 3.3, opportunity for community comments. Are these the only comments? Are you reading this part? No. Okay. Individuals who wish to address the board on matters which affect the district and its program are requested to complete a request to address the Board of Education card and submit it to the administrative assistant. Speakers are asked to limit comments to 3 minutes. While the board welcomes input from the community, they will not respond or take action during public comments. The board may decide to refer matters to the district staff or take under advisement for a future meeting. All speakers are reminded to be respectful and courteous. I have Mary Lou Vargas. I'd like to welcome to the podium.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Davis. As a parent from Florida Discovery Strait, I'm concerned that the preschool does not have a playground structure. I'm hoping with this new expansion of the preschool or the Florida Discovery Center can get a playground structure that will allow kids to challenge their bodies and develop their muscles and strength and help them develop their fine motor skills. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to welcome Tammy West to the podium.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Davis. My name is Tammy, and I'm here tonight as a parent. Many of you know that I am an employee of the district, but I am only speaking to you as a parent. I'm bringing to you the concerns that are happening around our district. In our schools, some of you know that I'm dealing with the loss of my husband, and my grandchildren are students here at this district. I notified the school counselor so that the kids could get help through the grief of losing their papa and having to deal with their emotional roller coaster that they would be going through. I felt that letting the children go to school would be in the best interest of them. I talked to each school site specifically, letting them know how each child was dealing with the loss of their papa. I specifically walked in and spoke to a counselor at an unnamed school and told them, please keep an eye on my granddaughter because she just moved to your school and has made no connections with staff. I assumed that the support would be there for her in her time of grieving during the day. She had an issue with 2 young boys taking her beanie that her papa gave her. They took it and were running around the playground, teasing her, blocking her, and not allowing her to get her beanie back. At this point, she took actions into her own hands. She bit the young boy that was teasing her, and at no time did counseling come in and talk to her and see what happened. I got a phone call from the principal stating that my granddaughter was going to get a 5-day ATS for biting the students. In turn, I told the principal that I would be down there as soon as I was done dealing with my husband at the mortuary. We came in to discuss the discipline. After talking with my granddaughter, she told us what had happened. And I did tell her that's not right to bite somebody and that she needed to tell an adult. We then agreed to 3 days of ATS. At no time did the other children get disciplined for teasing or bullying her at this time. Did anyone take the time to listen to what was going on? No. Nobody took the time to talk to my granddaughter. She did her 3 days of ATS. During that ATS process, we have Mr. Ryan Diaz that I begged for you guys to allow to come to ATS programs. He sat on the floor, laid next to Niaja on the floor, and listened to what she had to say. He comforted her. He let her cry. He listened to everything she had to say. Now that I'm dealing with grief myself, I'm seeing this firsthand. I'm here to ask for the time that it needs these kids in our district. We need to get grief support at all school sites. These kids need our support in all of our schools. I'm asking you guys, do not get rid of Ryan Diaz at any point. We need to keep him around because at no time did anybody who's an employee of our district at this unnamed school, because I'm not going to say the name of the school, did the counselor, after I spoke to her face to face, to please keep an eye on my granddaughter. She just moved there. And at no time did the counselor go in and check and see what was going on. We need to get these kids grief support in all schools, and it's not just for mine. There's a lot of kids in our district that are dealing with grief, and nobody is taking the time to listen. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next, I'd like to welcome Maxine Israel.
If you think about all the kids that get in trouble and actually sit and talk with them, find out what issues they have going on, you'll find out most of those kids are dealing with a grief. You have grief counselors when you got a shooting at schools. You have grief counseling when you lose students in accidents, whether it's a shooting off a campus or getting hit by a train. But not any other time do you have any counselors that will actually sit with a student and find out what the issues are. That needs to change. Not only will it help with behavior, but it also will help with suicide attempts and talking about suicide. I dealt with it with my niece. And helping these students, not just with an education, but with mental health issues too, would be your best bet.
Thank you. Item 3.4, BTA comments. I would like to welcome BTA President Anthony Garcia.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to report, I've recently been visiting a few sites and talking to some of the teachers. And I just wanted to comment, relay back to you guys that overall, their feelings are very positive about the direction the district is going, and they're hoping to see it continue. And there's been just a few minor issues, and Mr. Baker's been very helpful in solving those issues for us. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Item 3.5, CSEA comments. I would like to, is she here? No? Is she? Yeah, is there, let's see, if there is anyone that would like to speak on behalf of CSEA? No? Okay. Item 4, superintendent's comments.
So good evening, Madam President. Oh, I'm sorry. President Troutman, trying to take the madam out of that. And members of the board and our community, thank you for attending this evening. Just a few things to share. I want to congratulate all our students who participated in the science and history fair. I was able to attend the science fair the other night, and the room was packed at Coombs, packed. And I want to congratulate all those students who first, second, third place. I think those are the students who go on to RCOE, Riverside County Office of Education, History and Science Day. So congratulations to you. With that, I also want to thank our teachers and our staff that work with those students and the people who run those programs. Sometimes those people are not mentioned, but they are the people that make it pull it together for students and all their hard work. So I was able to see a lot of their posters and the good work that they did. So wanted to share that. Next, our student board member, Ahmad Saber, talked this evening, and we met last week. It kind of hit and go. We had a couple meetings scheduled, didn't make it, but I'm very proud of him. He's very mature, and he wants to create some sustainable practices. And these are a few things that he wants to do. So he's also thinking beyond himself, beyond the time that he's here, what we can continue as a student body. And some of those things are creating a site advisory council. I forgot to talk to the principals about this the other day, but I'll be mentioning in the future, if principals can have maybe a member that meets with him or meet with a student board member about what's going on. That way he can gather that information and share that. The other thing is he wants to do a student district-wide survey to get that out. And he's going to work with Ms. Cromas on that. I don't see her here, but getting the voice of students based upon a survey. And I think that would bode well for all of us to know what's going on with students. And I know how important that is. The other thing that he mentioned, which was very interesting, is having more student recognition for the high school. He talked about at elementary, we have attendance days, we have good behavior, they get the stars, and then somewhere it just disappears along the line. And at high school, what's there? So I see back there, Mr. Paz listening. So he would really like to see what can be done in terms of those students who show up every day and get awards for positive behavior. And so he wants that to continue. So you can reach out to Ahmad. And then the final thing I want to say is just thinking about Mr. Garcia. I talk a lot about our district, outside of our district, and how far we've come. There have been a lot of people who've talked about banning. And I just actually saw a superintendent the other day who's retired, and he was in the South County in Murrieta. And he says, banning is just really just steadily moving forward. So that's the word on the street. And so I don't know how that happens, but that's the word on the street. But it goes back to developing those relationships. The work is challenging. The work is hard. Everyone shows up to give their best. And I want to thank everyone for doing that. But it's challenging work, but it's for a good reason. And Ms. West, my deepest condolences to you and your family. And we do understand that having that communication from a staff member to student and how valuable and important that is, because you can talk to several students and they say, I don't have any connectivity at school. But when you do talk to those students and they say, oh, I have at least one teacher, one counselor that I can go to, that makes the world of difference for a student. And that's something that we have to continue to work on. That doesn't come easily, but that is our goal. So thank you.
Item 5, consent calendar.
The recommendation is to approve consent calendar agenda items 5.2 through 5.6 as provided. All matters listed under the consent calendar agenda are considered to be routine and enacted by one motion and vote. There is no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the Board of Education considers the motion, unless a member of the board or administrative staff requests that specific items be discussed and/or removed.
Do we have a motion and second to approve the consent calendar as provided?
I move to open and discuss.
I second.
I have a motion from trustee Ruiz and a second from trustee Anguiano. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 6, special legal and discussion items. 6.1, business services, general obligation bonds, voter opinion survey presentation. I now invite Mr. Herrera to share the information about this item.
Good evening, Board President Troutman, Clerk Ruiz, distinguished board members, Superintendent Davis, cabinet members, leadership of the Banning Unified School District, and participants here of the community in person and also joining us online. Today, I have the pleasure to go ahead and provide the board an update on the discussion we had last back in September about the general obligation bond possibility and recommendation. And so today we have back here representing the Dale Scott and Company, our financial advisor, Mark Farrell, to provide a presentation on the findings from the voter opinion survey.
Thank you. Good evening, President Troutman, trustees, Superintendent Davis. Pleasure to be back here in front of the board. It's been a number of years, and actually we worked with the district back on Measure M in 2016. And so a voter survey was conducted back in November. Took about a week to complete the phone calls, and a lot of surveys now are completed kind of through text messages and emails to voters that then can go online and complete the surveys online. So you can see kind of the percentages of the surveys completed in the various methods. With the 186 surveys that were completed, we end up with a margin of error of plus or minus 7.2%. Taking this question a little bit out of order, this is something we ask at the end of the survey, but it can be helpful to think about where does your community learn about Banning Unified School District. So you can see about 20% kind of say word of mouth, friends and family, district employees, another about 28% really from district sources. So whether that's direct communications, the website, board meetings, et cetera, and about a third get their information from kind of news sources. And then about 15%, 14% aren't really sure. We also ask at the end of the survey whether the voter has any children in the school, grandchildren in the school, or did in the past. Okay. And so you can see 71% of voters have no kids in the school, have never had kids in the school. That's up a little bit from 2016. Back in 2016, it was about 63%. And so this is actually one of the first questions we ask, kind of a warm-up question. Yeah, how would you rate the quality of the education in Banning Unified School District? So you can see about 30% excellent to good, 20% fair, 10% poor. These numbers are fairly similar to 2016. What has really increased is the unsure, the kind of don't know. That was only about 25% back in 2016. So kind of makes a little bit of sense as we see more of the voters haven't had kids in the school, that they might be less familiar with the district. Kind of the same kind of results with asking about the fiscal responsibility of the district. 25% excellent to good, 17% fair, 13% poor, 45% unsure. The vast majority of the community view the schools as the #1 kind of asset within the community. Again, 88% agree that having quality schools increase property values. So this is something that's important, not just for parents, but for people that don't have children in the schools, knowing that good schools increase property values. And then we also wanted to check to see if there may be any bad feelings about Measure M. So we asked if the voters felt that all the projects were completed from Measure M. And so you can see only 10% disagree, 26% agree, and then the vast majority, 65%, just don't know. But really, we're kind of looking, as long as there wasn't some big number of voters that really thought there was a problem with Measure M, that there might be some problems there that would have to be addressed. So then before giving voters any real information about the potential bond measure, we go ahead and ask the potential 75-word ballot question. So this kind of simulates if a voter really doesn't hear anything about the bond until they actually go to vote or they're filling out their ballot at home. So you can see kind of the sample ballot language on the left. And 50% of voters gave an immediate yes, another 15% lean yes. So we're looking at 65% kind of initial support, 20% no, 5% lean no, so about a quarter of voters in that no camp, and 10% were unsure. So after asking that question, we then ask a series of questions about potential projects that could be included in the bond measure. And we've kind of pulled out a sampling of those questions. We asked about 20 or so different projects. All of the projects asked and tested were viewed very positively by the voters. And how this kind of graph works, we asked the question, say, for example, if you knew that bond funds would be used to repair and replace leaking roofs and plumbing, would it make you more or less likely to vote for the bond? A number of people will also say it doesn't change how I'm going to vote for the bond. So we then go back and look to see how did that person answer that initial question? Were they a yes voter or a no voter? So you can see the chart on the bottom or the graph on the bottom, more likely and no difference, yes. So those were kind of your yes voters, people that this project doesn't make them more likely to vote for the bond. And then the people that said no difference but were no voters, and then the less likely. So kind of the kind of repairing schools from leaky roofs, plumbing, repairing classrooms, ADA compliance, updating technology, security type projects, adding and renovating restrooms, expanding workshops for things like coding and robotics and athletic facilities. So all of the various types of projects that were asked were really very strongly supported. Even athletics, which typically in a lot of districts tend to receive a lot less support. Kind of that black line shows you that 55% threshold that's required to pass a bond. And so, more than 55% were more likely to support athletics, which, as I said, is typically a less supported project once you get kind of further away from the classroom. Similarly, we ask a series of questions about really some of the safeguards that are built into bond programs in California. So the fact that funds can't be used for administrator salaries, the funds have to be spent here in Banning, the state can't take them and spend them elsewhere, public disclosure of the funds, how they're spent, the independent oversight committee, and then the fact that passing a bond can potentially make the district eligible to receive state matching funds. So all of those messages are very positively received by the community. We then get into the cost of the bond, right? So we talk about all of the great things, the projects that are possible, but there's a cost to a bond, and that's the tax rate. And so we asked 3 different tax rates, $45 per 100,000 of assessed value, $50 and $60. And $60 is the maximum allowed under Prop 39. There is some tax rate sensitivity, but not very much. When you look kind of that difference between 45 and 60, still at that $60 per 100,000 limit, that Prop 39 limit, still over, right around 55% are either more likely to vote for it or said it didn't make a difference and they were already a yes voter. So we don't see a lot of tax rate sensitivity in this survey. So after kind of giving the voter the cost, We then go back and ask, well, if the election was held today, how would you vote for the bond? And you can see on the left, we have the initial ballot question. On the right, we have after all that information. And we can see that the support increased the more information the voter had. So kind of the yes voters actually increased to 56%, 12% lean yes. We're now at 68% support. And the no vote kind of kept really consistent, right around 24%, kind of in that no and lean no group. And then we can dive down deeper into the survey results to kind of see how different groups of voters support the bond. And so one of the things we wanted to provide tonight was just kind of looking at the age groups and how the age groups support the bond. And again, fairly typical for a school district bond. Younger voters were more supportive than older voters. But even when you get to the 65 to 74 group, that's still over 55% support. The 75 plus falls a little bit. You kind of fall into that undecided group there, potentially kind of keeping the support even with those over 75 years old. And somewhat correlated to kind of how you have a lot of support with the younger voters, we can look at how the support ranges or varies depending on how likely an individual voter is to vote. So a very reliable voter is someone that's going to vote in every election. That reliable voter in the middle is going to vote in your presidential and gubernatorials and some primary elections, but maybe not all. And that unreliable voter on the far right, that's someone who's only going to vote in a presidential. And younger voters tend to fall into that category. So when we see that large support from the younger voters, they kind of fall into that group on the far right. And so one of the things that is important about this, as we look at election dates, and we've got a presidential election coming here in November 2024. And the chart on the left shows turnout in Riverside County at the various elections. So the blue bars are the two presidential elections in 2016 and 2020. So 75 to 80% voter turnout in presidential elections versus anywhere from 40 to 60% turnout in gubernatorials, which are the dark gray. And then the light gray are primaries. And so, 20 to maybe 45% turnout. So with a presidential election, you don't have to worry about getting your supporters out to vote. If they're a voter, they're going to vote in the presidential. If they're not voting in this presidential, they're really probably not a voter. So you don't have to worry about the get out the vote with the presidential election. And then we also broke down the kind of age and political parties. Another thing that has changed in banning over the past 8 years, the voters have gotten a little bit younger. So kind of that 65 plus group back in 2016 was 47% of the voters. That's now 38%. And the kind of under 35 is now 24% versus 17% back in 2016. And so thinking about the timeline for November election, we've completed the survey, you have that information, kind of the next steps will be to think about, what projects need to go into the bond, what the final dollar amount of the bond would be. So that could happen maybe in the February to April timeframe. The resolution is what the board would actually take action on. So once you kind of decide on projects, dollar amounts, if you would like to move forward, the resolution will be prepared and brought to the board for approval. That could fall sometime in the March to May timeframe. That would be drafted kind of in the March to May timeframe. And then the board could take action kind of April to June. That gives plenty of time. The deadline to file with the county is actually in August. But as we get into the summer months, sometimes there aren't board meetings in July, so we want to give ourselves plenty of time. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. I do have a question. You said you had 187 surveys. Which areas were surveyed?
Across the entire district.
The entire district. Okay. And out of those, do you know how many of those were homeowners who will actually pay this tax?
I do. It is in the information, but I don't have that number committed to memory. So it's something I can get to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mine isn't necessarily a question, but it's just a clarification I want to give to the board that Mr. Herrera had informed me of during the agenda review, is that these numbers do not include the Morongo Reservation as it is a sovereign nation. So just so you all are aware, because I feel like I remember last year there was quite a few Native students that we saw walk the stage. So I feel bad that Morongo's being left out, but I mean, I do understand.
I think one of my biggest questions is the different formats that the survey was delivered. I just feel like 187 is such a small number. And I wonder if there was anything else that we or you could have done to increase input, because I know it sounds bad, but I'm like, I can't remember if I did do the survey or I didn't, but I would have wanted to, but I can't confirm that I did do it, if that makes sense. And so I was,
Well, I can tell you that you did not, because we intentionally removed board members from the list of people to call because we think you might be a little bit biased. And so board members do get removed from kind of from the list. You know, for the size of the district, you know, so back in 2016, we were able to get 300 surveys done. It is definitely getting harder to get people to complete surveys. And back in 2016, all 300 of those would have been done via phone calls. So landlines and cell phones. So now you can see how many of these are getting done via text message to your phone. You click on the link and you answer the survey.
So Mark, just for clarification, you attempted maybe more than
Yes.
187, but
Yes,
only
so
net.
you know, there would have probably been close to, you know, at least 1,000 phone calls probably made, along with the emails and text messages to the voters. And so usually, you know, let's say for a larger district, we might only go to like 400 would be kind of the target. And that gives a margin of error of around 5%. So here we just have, you know, we have a little bit higher margin of error. We have a 7.2% margin of error. So as we look at the results and we're kind of in that 65 to 68% support, we can say, okay, well, let's even back out that 7% margin of error. We're still above that 55% threshold. So it still looks viable to put a bond measure on the ballot. You know, if our support was right at 55% and we're factoring in that 7% margin of error, you know, then it might be a little bit more concerning. You know, to get more responses would just be more calls, more time, and more cost to the district. And so there kind of becomes a point where you say it's a little bit diminishing returns to spend that many more dollars to get a handful more surveys to try to move that margin of error down a little bit. Yes.
I do have a concern about the way that you formulated these questions. When you look at survey questions, I mean, these questions, nowhere in there is there, does it take into consideration our budgets? So if we're doing repair and replace leaking roofs and plumbing, let's say, then in this bond, then all of the money that is not being used for that in the regular district could go to administrative. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, you can talk more to this district budget.
Absolutely. And so this is independent of the budget in terms of the purpose of the bond for facilities. And so part of the survey question was not only asking about the different project lists and what is sensitivity of the voter to those particular projects. And one of the questions was to ensure that the bond dollars would not be utilized for any administrative expenditures of the district. And does that answer the question?
Well, no, not exactly,
sorry.
because we do take, I mean, in our budget, we do budget for depreciation. We do budget for, you know, for issues like that, for plumbing, for other things. So I guess if I had been surveyed, I would have asked why we, you know, why we're not budgeting for those things. I mean, I know that we are budgeting for those things. So when you're doing repairs, which is it's just basic maintenance. I'm a little bit concerned about maintenance issues on a bond measure. That
Yes.
question in itself, as a homeowner, I would, regardless of whether I was on a board, that would not be favorable to me.
And that is a really good point in terms of maybe the way this particular question was formulated. It is considered a capital facilities project, and we are well aware of our aging facilities and the need for a lot of plumbing replacement. And so I can see how there could be the confusion about a simple maintenance repair for let's say, a leaky drain versus replacing the entire plumbing infrastructure. And so as we're getting through the process of refining the project list, then we would be more strategic in terms of how we then place that bond language in the voter ballot to ensure that we're focusing on capital facilities projects. Thank you.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
And I'll add, so the survey is designed to give the board information. So to let you know the types of projects that, voters would be interested in supporting. But ultimately, the board is going to kind of approve the resolution and have input into the project list. And so the bond dollars ultimately can only be spent on things that are in the project list that is in the resolution. So ultimately, it's the board's decision on what projects to include in the project list. And then ultimately, when it comes time to issue bonds, what projects are actually funded from the bonds.
And do we have a list of the things that are needed right now?
We do have preliminary project lists. We're also in the midst of completing a facilities master plan with architects to be able to develop a very cohesive document spelling out all the district needs in terms of facilities with the associated costs. We'll bring that information to the board, and then we'll be going through the process of prioritizing based upon the results if there is a 2024 GO bond for the Banning Unified School District.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. Item 6.2, Educational Services 2023 Dashboard Presentation. I now invite Dr. Kazi Bush to share tonight's presentation.
Good evening again. Board President Troutman, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, and the Banning community. This evening, I'm very proud to share our official results from our 2023 state dashboard indicators. And so I will begin with the simple comparison from last year. If you'll recall, we didn't see the colorful gasoline indicators that we usually do. We had status bars similar to cell phone. So we weren't able to see growth, and that was due to COVID and wanting to start with a brand new baseline. So we're very excited that we now have comparative data between 2022 and 2023. Okay, and just a quick overview. The California dashboard is a part of our state's accountability system. We are very fortunate, again, to have a system that helps us to sort of keep track of where we are and the growth that we need to make, as well as the growth we have made, as well as any other areas of concern. We also realize that 2022, as I shared before, was a restart. And then prior to that, we've had dashboard data going as far back as 2019 and 2017-18. And so just a quick review of what does it mean if you see indicators that say very high to very low. Usually, if something is very high, that's a great thing. Typically, for academic achievement, for graduation rate, those are areas we want to see very high scores in. There are only two areas where it's the opposite. We want to see very low in chronic absenteeism and suspension. And so as you're looking at the indicators, just keep that in mind. Very low is a good thing for suspension and chronic absenteeism. Okay, so we'll jump first into our English language arts. You'll see a comparison. Our status bar in 2022, we were low. We had 79.7, an average of 79.7 points below standard. And let me explain that. Every grade level and every subject takes the SBAC, as we reviewed the SBAC scores last fall, I think December. There's a baseline of proficiency or having met proficiency. What the dashboard does, it takes that same data and it just says, what is the average number, or the average distance from meeting standard? And so that's why this data focuses more on points as opposed to percentages. So for 2023, we have growth of 7.1 points on average, moving us from very low status to low status, which means we're starting to move the dial on that indicator. For mathematics, similarly, we've seen a growth of 6.7 points on average in terms of the average distance from standard, from 118 points, 118.2 points, down to 111.6. I think I wrote that wrong. Am I reading it backwards? Thank you. It's already been a long evening. Okay. For our English learner proficiency assessment from 2022, we were at a low, which is the second part of, if you will, on the indicator. You'll see not growth of 1 bar, but of 2. So we're very, very proud of this because our English learners grew 12.4%, which means we have 51.8% of our English learners who have grown at least 1 level on the English learner proficiency assessment. That assessment has 5 areas. You have a 1, you have a 2 that's a low, and a 2 that's a high. You have a 3 that's a low, and a 3 that's a high. So that's 5 areas. And our students have increased at least 51.8%. And so that's outstanding. We're very, very proud of that work. And that, again, goes back to all of the systems that our teachers have been putting into place, as well as all of our departments who've been working to ensure that all of our students have access to the core curriculum. And so I'm very excited and passionate about that because the hard work that has been done, that Superintendent Davis referenced earlier, doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And we want to make sure that we continue to move up on our ascent. So very, very proud of our sites, our teachers, and everyone who plays a role. Skipping ahead, the college and career indicator. And so right now we are at what is considered to be low. We're not very low. What that means is we've got 26% of our students who are considered prepared. When you dig deep into that indicator, it looks at a variety of things. It looks at to what extent you may have scored at a certain level on the state test, or what percentage of students are taking A to G classes, or if you're in a district that offers IB classes or AP classes. And so it looks at all those categories and says, if you have students who have a certain number of these indicators, they're considered prepared. If you have students who have a certain other number, they're considered very prepared. And then there's a group that's not as prepared. And so clearly this is an area we want to significantly improve on. And we're very happy we have on board with us our college and career specialist who's going to help us get to the very prepared. Okay, gotta slow my thumb down. Graduation. Thank you. All right, so last year, our graduation rate was at 84.2%. You'll see it's a medium. You'll also notice it's the same. It's a medium this year. Yes. Oh, I skipped. See, thank you. That's why it helps to have multiple sets of eyes. Thank you. I was ahead of myself. I told you my thumb is working too hard. So chronic absenteeism, this is one of those two where we talked about it being a good thing to see a drop. So you'll see here, we were very high in 2022. We jumped 2 levels from very high to high, and we're now at the medium level, which means we saw a decrease of over 9% in our chronic absenteeism rate. That is extremely outstanding because it means we're getting kids to school. In order for students to learn, they've got to be here first. And we've got to be doing things that get them not just to come to school, but to stay at school and want to continue coming back. So I'm very excited, if you can tell, because this is the culmination of very hard work from every person in the district. Everyone plays a role in this. Very, very excited. We've done some outstanding work, and our student services department has really been putting in a lot of effort in having attendance campaigns to continually to get students here at school. Thank you, Mr. Bonita. Now for our graduation rate. And so we've maintained our graduation rate at a medium. You'll see that there's a slight decline. It was 84.2% last year, and it's 83.7% this year, which is a drop of 0.5%. And that 0.5%, believe it or not, can actually be calculated down to, I think, 1 student. And so we are happy we've maintained, but we do understand the importance that every single student is important in terms of looking at the graduation rate. So we have more work to do, and we're going to continue to do that. And then our suspension rate, this is another area where we want to see, of course, a drop. And so you'll see last year in 2002, we were at a high level, and we pretty much maintained a high level. We had a suspension rate of 6.7%, who were suspended for at least 1 day, as the suspension rate does not look at per se the total number of suspensions from any one student. It looks at how many students were suspended for at least 1 day. Unfortunately, we've increased to 7.9%, and we do realize that is an area that we have significant growth to make. And so that is not a surprise for us. We know the work that we need to do, and we know that there's some other things that we need to try and implement as we continue to want that number to drop. Our mission statement, as you are all very aware of, is to prepare, to inspire, and to educate students. And we do know that that has to begin with the type of environment we create, not just at the district office, but in every single classroom, on every single school site's campus. We have to take that very seriously, and we're very proud to be able to say that this is the kind of work that it takes to be able to produce the growth that we're looking for. Of course, our Achieve, we take that very seriously. When you go through classrooms, many of you have gone through visits with us, you'll see this poster in the classrooms. The work that has been done over the last few years with our common assessments, we take very seriously. Our teachers do an amazing job of sticking with these assessments, and they work together in their respective grade level teams and review that data in our data reflection sessions, because we've got to know where students are. And those sessions give us an indicator of areas we need to focus on for instruction with students. Obviously, our curriculum, we have to provide that for every student. Our habits, to what extent do we believe that every student can do it? It has to begin with us. Our efficacy, again, Do we believe that every student has what it takes? And is that something we're continually modeling? Valuing the instructional leadership. We have an amazing team of administrators at the site who are helping to lead this work. And then finally, as I love to talk about, is the environment. And we're very grateful to be able to work in an environment that understands that we have to create the kinds of learning experiences. We have to respect one another and love what we do because our kids are watching us. And if they can see that we care about them, we want the best for them, they're going to rise to the occasion every day. With that, any questions about our dashboard?
I'm very excited that in the direction that we're moving, and I'm very excited to see next year's as well. And I want to thank you all, Mr. Davis and Dr. Bush and Dr. Pendleton and all of you have worked really hard, and all the teachers who are working very hard. Also for all the collaboration that I've seen over the last year is very impressive. So thank you.
I want to echo what Ms. Novales is saying, because when Ms. Troutman, Ms. Anguiano, and I first became board members, it was very heartbreaking to see our data. This makes me so happy. It's amazing what these babies have turned around and what everyone has accomplished in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm really happy. I'm excited to see what our numbers are going to be next time around when we compare the year that we're in. And I just one quick question. I know that we're doing the bars now, right? Not
We're
the,
doing this, like the gasoline indicator.
oh, we're doing that. We're
Yes,
not
with
doing
the
the bars
colors.
anymore.
That's correct.
Okay, I was so confused.
Yes, yes, I know
Like,
it
which
is.
one?
It is confusing. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I do just also want to say, staffing is very important. It is a team effort. Our HR department, I'm appreciative of them. And then our business department, we're making sure we have all the materials and resources that are necessary. And with that, if there are no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bush. Item 6.3, Board Bylaw 9322, Agenda/Meeting Materials, first reading.
This item is for the board to approve the first reading of Board Bylaw 9322, Agenda Meeting Materials.
Is there a motion to open and discuss item 6.3?
I move.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from trustee Anguiano and a second from trustee Novales to approve item 6.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 6.4, Business Services, Annual Certification of Signatures.
This item is for the board to approve the annual certification of signatures.
Is there a motion to open and discuss item 6.4?
I move to open and discuss.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? I have a motion from trustee Ruiz and a second from trustee Novales to approve item 6.4. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 7, Educational Services, School Accountability Report Card.
This item is for the board to approve the school accountability report cards.
Is there a motion to open and discuss item 7.1?
I move.
I second.
Any discussion or questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Can you help me understand why Florida Street isn't on this? And then also why TK as a grade level at Central isn't on it.
So Florida Street, I'll start with Florida Street, which is been considered a preschool. That is typically why they've not been included in terms of having a SARC. That is something we've had discussions about in terms of making that a recommendation to include SARC information for them moving forward. As it relates to transitional kindergarten, that is part of a 2-year kindergarten program. And so typically those TK numbers are included with kinder. We are moving towards the universal transitional kindergarten program that will have some different parameters as it relates to how TK, the focus of TK, but transitional kinder, for lack of a better word, is year 1 of a 2-year kindergarten program as it stands now. So it's not that they were forgotten. It's just that those TK numbers should be included with our kindergarten numbers as part of the program. And then I also want to add, we will be submitting an updated version of our SARC as we had some information that was missing as it relates to our pupil support services staff. So we will have that information updated for the board.
So if it's a 2-year, TK program is 2 years, next year it would be the same, it would be
It
incorporated.
might be different because we'd have a different number of TK students going into transitional kinder. So that number will vary. Hopefully it will be more because we want to see more enrollment. But for now, it will still be included in that kinder number.
And in this transition for transitional kindergarten, the state is recognizing it as a grade level now. And so full implementation in 25-26 most likely would see the differentiation of TK versus kindergarten.
Any other questions or comments? No. Okay. I have a motion from trustee Anguiano and a second from trustee Novales to approve item 7.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 7.2, educational services, cadet corps events and trips.
This item is for the board to approve the attendance of the Banning High School and Nicollet Middle School Cadet Corps State Event Individual Major Awards on January 26th through the 28th, 2024, and State Event Marksmanship Competition on February 9th through the 11th, 2024.
Is there a motion to open and discuss item 7.2?
I move to open and discuss.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? I have a motion from trustee Ruiz and a second from trustee Martinez Lara to approve item 7.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 7.3, educational services, Friday Night Live Leadership Conference.
This item is for the board to approve the attendance of the Banning High School Friday Night Live chapter to the Youth Development Institute Overnight Conference.
Is there a motion to open and discuss item 7.3?
I move. I second.
Any discussion or questions?
I do have one question. How many students will be attending?
Right now, we have approximately 15 students.
Okay, so the registration and the award is for 9 slots, but then we're just paying for the other 6. Is that correct?
Well, we've had a number of students who initially wanted to participate, and it may be 9 students who end up going. Usually we end up working from a larger list of students, and then sometimes other students make the decision to want to participate. But the site will be able to give us a final number of students as it gets closer to the date.
But, okay, so here is when it says that it's awarding 9 slots and it covers, so we're covering the transportation. I guess the way it's worded, I was a little confused by that.
So it says there's 9 slots, which covers transportation to and from the event, lodging, meals, and conference materials. If any other students do decide to join, the 9 slots are covered, the rest is
Then
on.
we would have to find a way to support them if there were others.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Ruiz to approve item 7.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 7.4, Educational Services, District Quarterly Report on Williams Uniform Complaints. Are there any questions regarding item 7.4? Okay. Item 7.5, Educational Services, Riverside County Office of Education, Williams first and second quarter reports.
This item is for the board to accept the Williams legislation first and second quarter reports for 2023-24 from the Riverside County Office of Education.
Is there a motion to open and discuss item 7.5?
I move.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from trustee Anguiano and a second from trustee Ruiz to approve item 7.5. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 8.1, Human Resources, Variable Term Waiver Request for English Learner Authorization.
This item is for the board to approve the variable term waiver request to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing to authorize Christian Nunez as the Career Technical Education, Arts and Media Entertainment teacher at Banning High School to obtain an English learner authorization waiver for grades 9 through 12, effective January 26, 2024 through January 25th, 2025.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 8.1?
I move to open and discuss.
I second.
Any discussion or questions?
I do have a question about this. Is this person, why are we asking for a waiver for the California credential? I mean, when we're looking at arts and media entertainment, that covers abroad and career. I mean, to me, that covers I think that's a pretty serious position. So why are we asking for a waiver and what qualifications does this person have?
Right, so this is a CTE program, so the teacher that is in question actually is in a preliminary, he has a preliminary credential and is in a RCOA program to clear that credential. And to actually teach in California, you also have to have an EL authorization. This waiver will allow him to get this authorization while he's completing the program that has the EL authorization embedded in it.
Okay, and how long does he have to finish this?
He has 1 calendar year
Not
and
how much more time does he?
he has 1 calendar year to complete it. If he does not complete it, he can request 1 more extension after this.
But will he be completed in the year?
That is the hope. He should be within this year, but if something happens, he does have the ability to request another extension.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I have a motion from trustee Ruiz and a second from trustee Novales to approve item 8.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.1, Business Services, Leaseback Guaranteed Maximum Price, Florida Street Discovery Center Expansion Project.
This item is for the board to approve the leaseback guaranteed maximum price for the Florida Street Discovery Center UTK expansion construction project.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.1?
I move.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions?
I do have one question. Did we, as a board, did we already see these figures? Because I wasn't here at that, in the October board meeting. So were those presented at that time? The $9 million?
The question, I believe, was has this information been provided to the board? And the answer is no. This is the first time the board sees the total guaranteed maximum price for the Florida Street project. What we did see earlier through various conversations in terms of securing the architect and securing the developer and or construction company, there were some estimates. And so this is the final guaranteed maximum price for the project, in addition to some other soft costs that are included for the total project.
And when does this have to be approved?
The approval request is for tonight. We did go through a competitive process through the selection of the developer. And so this mechanism here is set up in a way so that the district would have to potentially have a minimal amount of change orders, meaning that because it is new construction, we're not modernizing any of our facilities. We are expanding the facilities. It is very likely that we will go ahead and hit our target of the $9 million.
Mr. Herrera, Mr. Herrera, how much money are we receiving from the state grant for this project?
The overall state grant contribution, including the district max requirements, about $9.8 million. Right now, as presented, we're about $800,000 as a potential contingency for the project, and with escalation. And so all those parameters have been considered in landing to this figure here.
Is there going to be any kind of penalty for the construction company if they do not complete this project in time?
In terms of the timeline, there are liquidated damages usually built into the contract. And so we do have an estimated time of mobilizing early in February. So in a few weeks, potentially breaking ground towards the end of February. We're hoping for the modular units to be delivered sometime in April. And yes, we'll be sticking to the timeline and getting it complete by August. And so we are all hands on deck and continuously meeting with the developer contractor to ensure we stay on time.
And does this include a playground?
I'm sorry, can you repeat
Does
that?
this include a playground?
It does include a playground, and thank you very much for asking the question. I did want to add that. There is a current structure there. We're working through shade structures for the existing playground. The construction project would have an additional playground located on the north side of the campus.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Davis, I forgot to ask when we were on our tour the other day, is it going to, the fencing, it's gonna wrap around all the site that's there now, including what's coming, what's getting built. So it's gonna open up that little area at the bottom. They're not gonna feel secluded like an island.
No, so it's going to be to the north. I think there are 2 classrooms to the north, and then there's 4 on the south end, and all of that will be gated. Yep,
And
correct.
so they'll feel more
Yes,
a
as
part
a
of the
part of all
school.
one, just elongate it a little bit more.
Thank you.
Correct.
was
And
next
part of the
question.
design team, we did include our safety coordinator. So we were looking at all angles to ensure that we have a cohesive, free flowing campus and ensure that our early education students are in a safe learning environment.
Any other questions or comments? I have a motion from trustee Anguiano and a second from trustee Martinez Lara to approve item 9.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.2, business services, purchase fitness equipment replacement Banning High School Precor Inc.
This item is for the board to approve utilization of Sourcewell contract number 081120-PCR with Precor Inc. for fitness equipment at the Banning High School weight room as quoted by authorized dealer and representative Outfit Inc.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.2?
I move to open and discuss.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? So I have one, actually. Shelley asked a good question in the agenda review about what would we do with the old equipment? If you could just reiterate one more time, please.
I'll be inviting Mr. Brandon Mason, our athletic director, to provide a little bit more about their plans to utilize and repurpose the existing equipment.
I hope I don't mess this up. It's the first time I've done this. Good evening, President Troutman and Board of Trustees and Mr. Davis. I think I made my wife and parents proud. There we go. And my 3 little girls who are still learning. That's a great question and one I'm actually really excited to respond to because I know the answer. And I think it's an answer that not only would a new weight room benefit the entire student body, the students use it through PE, and all our athletic programs year round. We sometimes have conflicting time slots. The most preferable is always right after school. And with the current equipment we have that is rather weathered, but some of it still has some life left. I've been working with Ken Page and have a brilliant plan and idea to create a second weight room on campus. It'd be outside under the visiting side bleachers in the football stadium. So it will all, some just has to, I don't know how, repurpose. But there is good purpose for some of the
So
other equipment.
the equipment outside, is it gonna have a shade or like what are you envisioning? Oh, like under
Depending upon
the,
where the sun is, I'm not a science expert. The bleacher would cover
oh,
a good chunk.
okay. So you won't bump your head?
No, it's very, very secure. Since we allow our visiting opponents' fans to sit there, it is a very secure structure.
Okay.
That's a great thing to say.
Yeah.
Mr. Mason's father is also a superintendent, so you can now show him on film that you were addressing the board. Awesome.
I will do that. All right.
Any other
Thank you.
questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I have a motion from trustee Ruiz and a second from trustee Martinez Lara to approve item 9.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.3, business services, change order JB Bostic.
This item is for the board to approve change orders for contract with JB Bostic as provided.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.3?
I move.
I'm sorry?
I move. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Ruiz to approve item 9.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.4, business services, notice of completion, JB Bostic.
This item is for the board to approve the notice of completion for JB Bostic.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.4?
I move.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay. I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Anguiano to approve item 9.4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.5, business services, notice of completion, district portables wiring project.
This item is for the board to approve the notice of completion for the Banning Unified School District Portables Wiring Project.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.5?
I move.
I'll second. Any discussion or questions? No.
I do have one question, and that's for trustee Anguiano. Were these the portables that you were discussing last year?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the ones by the district office where the drive-through loop is, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so everything is up to code now?
Yes. And just to go back a little bit, there were some discussion previously about eliminating those portables to
Right.
address traffic and safety concerns. And so we were able to keep it because we needed the space and then address the safety issues another way.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No. I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from myself, trustee Troutman, to approve item 9.5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.6, business services, disposition of district assets.
This item is for the board to approve disposition listing of district assets as provided.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.6?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions?
Can I just bring up what I said in closed session? So I just asked the question of how they were being disposed of and if there was any possibility of us recouping any of the money.
Yeah, that wasn't in closed session.
Yes, and just to clarify that during agenda review, correct? And so during the agenda review process, the question was asked about how we will be dispositioning the vehicles. And so the disposition process is to first identify that we need to disposition an asset, then bring that to the board, get the board's approval. Thereafter, we're using an online platform, Gov Deals, to go ahead and put the item to sell. If the item does sell, those proceeds then are recognized as local revenue for the district. Depending on how the item is purchased, then we go through a separate process. So yes, we'll be in the process of also selling the vehicle for salvage value and recouping the cost.
Just out of curiosity, what's the probability that we will be able to resell it? Like, do people usually buy them?
For vehicles and these type of vehicles, it is very likely. It's a very common type of vehicle, trucks utilized in the industry. So we're also working with the professionals with Gov Deals to set a price point so that we can, one, maximize the revenue, and two, increase the probability of selling the vehicle.
And then we are told when it is sold, right? Or like when we do receive the money to allocate, or does
Not-
it show up in the budget?
Not necessarily. It shows up through the budget. It's recognized at the interim reporting periods.
Can we get that included on a weekly update if or when it is sold?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Herrera.
Thank you.
I have a motion from trustee Martinez Lara and a second from trustee Ruiz to approve item 9.6. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.7, business services, contractual agreements.
This item is for the board to approve and or ratify contractual agreements as provided.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.7?
I move.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Anguiano to approve item 9.7. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.8, business services, monthly fiscal services report.
This item is for the board to approve monthly fiscal services reports, bank reconciliations, purchase orders, warrant summary, and commercial warrant registers.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.8?
I move.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Ruiz to approve item 9.8. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. Item 10.1, governance training updates. Mr.
So I would like to thank the board for their commitment by being present in action, to listen, to learn, and to lead. On January 5th, we had a special board meeting, which is recorded that you can take a look at it. It was a little over 4 hours, where we talked about how does the governance team and board become extremely high functioning. And I would say this to the public, I think you've seen a lot of growth in the board and change and moving forward in the direction. And you can see that in the results of our students as well. So thank the board for that. And as we continue to grow, they just want to learn more and professional learning, just as our teachers should, just like our students should. Everyone in our organization should be learning. And so some of the topics, we talked about how do we grow, what are some areas to improve, and that there has been growth. And one of the themes was, how does the board communicate with one voice collectively? Meaning that each board member has their own perspective and has their own thoughts, and that should be shared. But at the end of the day, how does the board talk with one voice? That way we have one direction as a school district. And so it's complex work. And so there were great conversations. And one of the things that the facilitator, who's from Franklin Covey, left us with is anything worth achieving is hard work. And there's a lot of conversations, discussions that the board has that are heavy and that are hard to decipher, but it's working through that collaboratively to have the best benefit of our students in our community. So thank the board for that, and we'll continue that. So thank you.
Item 11.1, board members' comments. Would anyone like to start?
I can go, I guess. So I want to reiterate what Mr. Davis said about congratulating our students that made it to the county competition for Science and History Day. I know they worked really hard, and I would see them at drop off and pick up with their poster boards and chugging along their backpacks and everything. And I know they worked really, really hard. And I thank the coordinators as well as the teachers for providing that extra time for them to understand all the rules, because it's confusing at times, even for me as an adult guiding my son. But they are definitely learning skills that are only going to help them even further their education in middle school. So I do appreciate all the hard work, and I wish them good luck. I can't wait to hear how far our students go. Also, I really appreciate all the posts from Lynette of our sports teams and how they're doing and the victories and just the exposure that our students are receiving within athletics. And then I want to thank Daniel from Coombs. It sounds like he transitioned, right, to the high school. So I really enjoyed him presenting. He has a sense of humor, so I really enjoy hearing him present. So I wish him the best, and I welcome our new student as well from Coombs. I'm really happy to see our dashboard scores. Like I mentioned earlier, when the item was being discussed, I can't wait to see how much more improvement our students are able to achieve. And I think everyone, like every staff member, has a role with our students, and I know that we're going in the right direction. I can't wait to see what we accomplish. Other than that, I hope that the new year has been great for everybody. And as always, I'm here and available if there's any concerns. Thank you.
I'll go next. I was going to mention Daniel as well. I like the way he introduced the new speaker. I thought that was very cool that he had that opportunity. I also liked things that our student board members said, and trying to get our students more involved and get more student voice, so that they feel like they have power in their learning as well. I also agree. I love seeing the progress academically and hearing that there's positive feelings out there. I feel more positive feeling when I'm around the district office and around the schools. So I just hope that that progress continues, even if it is slow and steady. Have a great night. Thank you.
I'd like to go next. I'm going to piggyback and on that, I don't want to repeat, but I also agree with both of you. But I also, as a STEAM teacher, I'm very excited about what's going on, what's happening in the district. The field trips, I was looking at some of the field trips, very exciting because I think our students are being propelled into the future. And I like to see that future minded orientation. And that's a very exciting thing for me to see and to just feel the excitement from the teachers and in the classrooms as we walk around. It really is contagious. So thank you all.
I don't want to repeat what everyone said, but I got to go to Florida Street and actually play with the little ones. It was so much fun. I got to puzzle and see all the cute little itty bitty babies up there learning and playing. It was amazing, amazing, honestly. Congratulations to everyone that plays. Congratulations to everyone that is doing amazing work. Thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart, as always, for all your hard work, dedication, and showing up each and every day. As a mom who has only one kiddo in the district, it is very, very, very hard to keep up with these babies, their schoolwork and everything that they need. So for everyone to put their heart and soul into all of our students in our district, thank you so much.
So I too would also like to congratulate Daniel on his transition back to the high school and welcome, I believe her name was Nevea, excuse me. And right. I said Neve, I was close. And then I'm also excited to see the improving numbers on the dashboard. It's always good news to see the numbers go up in the right places. And thank you for that, Dr. Kazi Bush. And I'm also excited for the students for the science and history fair. I believe they worked very hard. I'm very happy for them, and I hope we get to go very far. And as usual, I'd like to thank the staff for always for your hard work and always showing your dedication. And I know sometimes it's a little hard, you know, we can be demanding for all the right reasons. And but we appreciate all your hard work and all the employees in the district, all the staff, teachers, everybody for doing their part, because this district would not be a district without every single person. So thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great night. Item 12.1, future board items. Are there any future board items? Anyone?
One I would like to bring up, which I brought up to Mr. Davis earlier, was about the properties. I'd like to discuss what we're going to do with the properties that we're paying for right now.
And then I know I've been asking several questions about our challenges with transportation and field trips, and I would like more information on that in order to continue exposing our children to those activities that are really beneficial for them.
Okay. And we didn't, just so I'm clear, we did not need to go back into closed session. Okay, I just want to be sure. Is that correct, Mr. Baker? Okay. Item 14.1, adjourn meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move. Oh, okay, I second.
I'm sorry, who?
Novales?
No.
And
Thank
then
you.
I second.
Thank you. I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Anguiano to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. This meeting is adjourned at 9:02 p.m.
I will do better next time, I promise.